So we ask students 13 questions, and from there, we are able to not only identify what's very important to them, what their strengths are, what motivates them, the type of cultures that would really help them thrive, and the types of college experiences where they'll find the most success because those schools are actually capable of supporting that journey and their success. And we're able to show them, based on their own school list, why or why not those schools will actually be the best fits for them. And this is totally ranking unrelated. This is not related to any of your functional metrics that anyone can produce. We're not a college quiz calculator. We're not a college acceptance calculator. We are a very tried and true college fit.
If AI feels overwhelming, you're not behind. You're just busy running a business. New tools pop up every week, and then no one has time to figure out what actually works. At LionEdge AI, we take AI off your plate so you can focus on running your business. We review your setup, choose the right tools, and run AI systems across sales, customer support, and operations. No noise, no learning curve. LionEdge AI, your unfair advantage in the AI era.
AJ Divalerio III is no stranger to reinventing himself. From architect to tech exec, this serial entrepreneur has a knack for spotting opportunities others miss. But his latest venture might be his most ambitious yet, disrupting the $50 billion college admissions industry, one high school student at a time. As AJ puts it, admissions is just the first domino. And if his vision for the future of higher ed pans out, this could be the start of something much, much bigger. Tune in to hear how AJ plans to take on an outdated system and give students the guidance he wishes he had. Hey, AJ, how are you?
Well, thanks. How you doing?
Good, thanks. We chatted before, and I got the permission from you to call you AJ. And I'm very excited about today. And the reason is not just because what we're going to learn about your new venture. When I had the chance to meet you before, I told myself, and I'm going to say it here out loud, I think I have I'm lucky to have you on this show because I don't think that's the last time we're going to hear from you. I got the chance to get to know you, and I can definitely see that what you're doing now, which is super important, which we're going to learn in a minute, but this is just the beginning of your entrepreneur career, or just the one step, which I believe is going to be as the next step, the next step to something even bigger, just because the way that you present and the way that I learn how you think about opportunities. So with that, hey AJ, hey again, please introduce yourself.
Hey. Nice to be here with you. Thank you for the kind words. I really enjoyed our conversation the first time that we met as well. I love what you're doing with your podcast. As you mentioned, my name is AJ Divalerio. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by way of several other cities, and found my way back to Philly. And now I am here braving the cold in the Northeast. But Pennsylvania and Philadelphia is a rich market for this venture, so it felt right to come back.
That's great. It's always fun to be back home. On Open, right? Did I say it right? The name of your new venture?
Open Admissions.
Open Admissions. Tell us, you mentioned to me last time that you wish you had this service when you were, where you were a student. Explain us, what does it mean?
It's a loaded question. For me, just thinking about open admissions and what we're trying to do for high school students, parents of students, high school counselors, and university admission departments, one of the things that we have seen and kind of looked at when we were just doing research in this area was how disconnected it is for students and universities and those that are supporting those individuals to really get direct transparency or access to each other, like direct line of sight. And one of the things that we saw in our early days, like, my co-founder and I run a nonprofit here in Philadelphia called Friends for Good, and we just celebrated our 7th year in operation. One of the things that we've done within that nonprofit is mentor high school students through the college admissions process. And just through mentorship and working with students, um, predominantly from, not very well resourced school districts, how little guidance or access to opportunity they were getting. So, of course, we just wanted to help. And going through that experience, seeing just how often really good students are kind of overlooked in the college admission selection process or just unaware of what opportunities might actually be available to them. And the big takeaway was that there's too many steps in the process. It's friction riddled. It's a lot of start, stop, leveraging different solutions to achieve a single step in a very long journey. And one of the things that we thought about was this hasn't changed since we applied to college. So what would our, formidable, almost, late 30s selves would want from an experience today? And it's really boils down to simplicity. And how can we make that entire experience for all the stakeholders really simple? And one of the, I would say, case studies we looked at was LinkedIn. It became very easy for job seekers and employers to find, recruit, apply, and get jobs all on a single platform without having to go out and network, without having to do a whole lot of the other things that kind of would go into a traditional job search, application, recruitment process. And LinkedIn did a great job of simplifying and connecting the two parties in a marketplace setting that allowed data availability, hypervisibility, and connecting talent to opportunity. So we thought that that would be a very interesting approach to college admissions. And when we looked to see if something like that existed for the students we were mentoring, we were very shocked to see that nothing like that had existed. And in fact, a lot of the same tools and processes that are available today existed when I applied to college 18 years ago. So that was that was a pretty bright signal. And then we started interviewing students, counselors, parents, and universities all across the United States for a couple of years to figure out if maybe we were being overambitious or if it wasn't that big of a problem or we might have missed something. And after hundreds of interviews, we quickly determined that this was actually a huge problem. Everybody seemed to have an issue with this experience. It didn't really seem to be working for anybody. And it just kind of seemed like the status quo. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Ironically, it is kind of broken. And there were very few people trying to actually change how this process works at a system level rather than just throwing a band-aid on the process to make one piece of the journey a little bit easier. So that's kind of how we started on open admissions, thinking about, wow, this service would have been great if we applied to college, but it's even more important today that students have something like this because the job market is changing, things that they want to study, how they frame their future, all of that is becoming very critical, especially with the advent of all of these great tools. Um, so we think that this would be something that we would have enjoyed and hopefully hundreds of thousands and millions of students also find a great deal of pleasure in using.
This is beautiful. Um, you know, I wonder if you can elaborate more about the process or explain us the experience that student who uses your system. What do they go through? What do they see? What are the options? How do they make decisions? Because based on my understanding, you bought a system, you build a system that takes into consideration and it's not fair because I know a little bit about your business from before, but you mentioned that you were able to come up with a list of questions, and correct me if I'm wrong, you keep me honest here, that a questionnaire that was even scientifically proven that if the student answer this, you have a much better or a solid idea about what they want. It even helped the student himself or the one who gonna become a student to understand what is that they want, and based on that, you would match the right school for them. Did I say it right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great encapsulation of what it is. Um, but to kind of explain what the experience is, like during our research process, we weren't trying to um, copy tools or processes, but what we really were after was getting down to the essence of what's missing. Like what would make the experience easier for parents, for the student, for the counselor, for the admissions officer, and understanding what solutions they were using, what was good about those solutions, where they were falling short, what they might have been Frankensteining together to get information that was going to be useful for them, and consolidating all of the missing pieces into a single experience. So for us and for any student that joins Open, the very first thing that we do is we ask them 13 questions. And those 13 questions get down to the essence of their strengths, their motivations, their personal attributes, their priorities, as well as their hidden superpowers and the things that really motivate them to succeed, where they'll not only enjoy a college experience where they'll thrive, but then also being able to set themselves up for lifelong and career long success and happiness. So, and we've evaluated a ton of tools that there's millions and millions of personality tests or strength tests or anything like that. But none of them really take the important pieces of those evaluations and basically put them into an actionable rubric for a student to begin to frame how they think about this decision. So we ask students 13 questions, and from there, we are able to not only identify what's very important to them, what their strengths are, what motivates them, the type of cultures that would really help them thrive, and the types of college experiences where they'll find the most success because those schools are actually capable of supporting that journey and their success. And we're able to show them, based on their own school list, why or why not those schools will actually be the best fits for them. And this is totally ranking unrelated. This is not related to any of your functional metrics that anyone can produce. We're not a college quiz calculator. We're not a college acceptance calculator. We are a very tried and true college fit decision engine. And that decision engine that we give students then later translates into how they approach kind of this college research and the college search and determining what they need from a school where they'll actually have a lot of success.
Wow. How many schools do you have in your database that you are using to, and how did you even get to this database? How did you gather this information from?
Um, any higher ed or post-secondary institution in the United States is in our database.
Wow.
And we have inventoried every single one. We've inventoried every single admissions piece of criteria that a university might be able to use. And we've also inventoried years of acceptance data. And that's mostly functional because that's the information that gets published. But that's that's a core part of any admissions process is GPA, SAT, where are you from in the country, the geography, zip code, the major that you are interested in studying. All of those things are important in the admissions process. And we actually leverage what we know about the student against the information that we have, not only on the functional data from universities, but also on the things that have never been really reported, like culture, the vibe of the school, the fit, the types of people that are at the school that might mostly assimilate or get along with the student who's looking to go to that school, and being able to actually reduce that down into a direction.
Wow. This is fascinating. I think what you just mentioned in this past 2 minutes is your secret sauce. So there is the public data that anyone can get, but you have it concise and into a database. But then there is the other part, which I see it as your secret sauce, which is okay. It's not the dry facts, it's the vibe, it's the people, and you match it with the answers that the students provided from your questionnaire, and I think this is brilliant. And I got to be honest with you. You make me feel like I want to go back to school, and I want to answer those 13 questions and see what I come up with. But I tell you more than that. If you don't mind, I have a deal for you. Coincidentally, I have a senior, and he's in his process right now of a sign up and going through the admission. And I would love to send him to you and go through the process.
Tell
How
you
about
what,
that?
he can put his email on our website, and when we release it later this month, he'll be the first one to know and be able to use it.
Wow. So this is great. I'm really serious. We're gonna do that. Um, tell us a little bit about where are you in the process of. So you established the company. You have your team of development. That build all that, all the engineer, the science behind what you do. Um, are you just said that the first official release is going to be this month, or do you already have something there?
The first official release is going to be later this month, but obviously it's been tested quite a lot. And this is not something that I came up with. My chief human intelligence officer is one of the foremost experts in human and individual assessment and evaluations, and he has created a novel methodology that has been tailored, honed, improved, researched, and tested for the past 30 years. And some of his previous customers included Harvard, Princeton, PBS, US World News Report, Peterson's, Blackboard, JP Morgan Chase. And he's personally done, through his programs and through his methodology, over 1 million assessments, and over 500,000 of those have been students. So we're taking 30 years of
Amazing.
research, development, scientific study, and we are making all of that available in a digital format that would traditionally cost an individual several hundred, if not several hundred, or several thousands of dollars to be able to get those types of answers. And we're making that available to students, universities, even parents, and then also for counselors being able to provide better guidance. So making everybody more impactful in the student's journey.
Y- you know, so I already said enough, about AJ as the person, but I got to tell you that one of the reason that I was excited about the recording today, following our discussions before, is the type of the service that you guys do, because you know you really need to be a visionary to come up with, I want to solve something that it's sometimes even hard to define. What is it that is wrong with the process? Because we all used to do this for years and years. I don't know, maybe hundreds of years, right? It's the kind of the same process, and and it's hard to even understand. Only retrospective after many years for someone, when he looks back when he was young, did I make the right decision? And just yesterday, I met a guy that told me that he started as a software engineer, and then he moved to biology, and then he ended up being a lawyer. So he went,
Like me.
yeah. So, and that's what exactly, and that's what I told you that I like about when you and I talk. You took your personal experience, you went through this journey, and you realized that maybe you could have saved money, time, all the effort that you put into to to become what you are today without going, through what you had to go through. Where sometimes someone might say, well, maybe you had to go through this, but I don't believe in that. I believe that if we are giving the right tools, if we're giving the right process, we can direct ourselves, and especially at this young age that you don't know yourself as good, right? But we can help you, and with the experience of your partner of 13 years, thousands, and I don't know, millions, maybe you said, of, doing those assessments and know what's work, and then put it into a solution, which is very inspirational in my mind to say, you know what, I want to do that. So I want to wish you a great success in the official, and count me in, and my son. We are actually going to use that.
Absolutely.
All right, this is great. Now I have a list of questions. This is our questionnaire. Say, I need to find a name for this section. I don't know yet, but I'll come up with it later. So look, um, well, you're still in the uh, I don't want to call it development because you're very close to release, but now the business actually start, very, very soon. Expose yourself, officially release, and then, the actual business plan and the business structure and the way
Everything
that
gets
you
tested.
are, that's what's going to start. But still, those questions will be relevant. So if you had the magic wand, right, where you can fix whatever right now is slowing you back or prevent you from growing, or anything that is a challenge in the process, and I'm sure you had a lot. Every entrepreneur knows that. What would you use it for?
I would extract what I know right now and put it in my head 2 years ago. That would be my magic wand. I would take everything that I know right now, the experiences, the stumbles, the successes, the opportunities that were missed, or the opportunities that, that I didn't see. And I would take everything that I know today and I would stick it back into my head 2 years ago.
Wow. And this podcast is about businesses in the AI era. So definitely AI is a big, we haven't even mentioned the word AI yet, but I got to tell you, what you just said, I cannot not think of how today, with the AI tools that we have, you might have achieved it. How? Now that you know what you didn't know before, if you know the right prompt, right, and you put it into one of the models out there, the better ones, it could probably tells you what you didn't know back then, because it's probably already know. I mean, but the trick is to know how to ask it, right? So this magic what I'm trying to say is that maybe this magic wand already exists today. We just don't know yet how to use it, and this is through AI. All right. We haven't really touched that, but I'm maybe that's a good opportunity. Can you share anything that you currently use AI for in the solution that you have?
Yeah. So it's interesting. We were just inventorying this the other day. I was with my CTO and we were just kind of looking at how we're already. So we think about AI in two ways. We think about like business operations AI, things that we're using already to improve our processes or things that we're using to streamline how we do things internally. And then we also think about AI and those tools in creating delightful experiences for any one of our users. So we'll call it business operations AI and product AI, things that people would interact with. And we've been implementing a number of different tools within our own processes, whether it is to analyze all of our internal documentation, our knowledge bases, to actually get streamlined responses without hours and hours of research or compiling things that we might need to produce new documents. And then we're also thinking about creative ways that we are using AI, or at least the precision of AI, layered on top of the human intelligence that we are gathering. So what we like to say is that we're a human intelligence company with the precision of AI. And we are using AI to the individual's benefit to actually get to a concrete answer or direction or understanding pathways. So we're not giving definitive answers. We're providing the appropriate lenses and way in which to look through things to arrive at a very personal decision. So kind of like putting the guardrails on things, because if you don't have guardrails, then any of the 7,000 post-secondary institutions in the United States might be a real option for you. And that's not true, but being able to show individuals and provide guideways on how to begin to think about this is a very powerful notion. And not only how to think about it, but then also how to determine what's important and being able to deduce the sea of options into a very concrete list of schools or career fields or environments that would be the most beneficial to them. So for us, yeah, I don't, I mean, I'm trying to think. We use, I think it's called Rovo in Confluence, an Atlassian product.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
We use Rovo quite frequently because it's basically our brain within all of our knowledge base. We document everything almost too much. The amount of documentation that we've created, usable documentation, is enormous. And just having a brain to be able to kind of pick at it or ask questions just to say, hey, what did we do over here? Or if we combined X, Y, and Z, can we produce or output something like this that might be beneficial within a product requirement standpoint? And not only will it gather the information of the things that we've already done, but then also make recommendations on how we can make approaches. Or even more simply, coming up with a list of frequently asked questions. You know, how do I do A or X on the platform? Can I do Y with this? Or can I, whatever a question might be that a user might have on how to use the platform, the effort of trying to think through all the possibilities and then finding the correct answer within our own information, that would be a considerable effort. But we were able to do that in 25 seconds. So that was pretty powerful and amazing. And then with,
Are you referring to a static page that already there is question and answers, or is it dynamically you can put a question, and since it knows already from all the documentation, which is very important what you just said, companies needs
oh,
to understand if you don't fit it
yeah.
right. Yeah. So
Imagine if you had a blank page and we were basically telling all of our documentation, create a list of all of the possible questions that a student user might have about their experience on Open. And from 0 to 90 possible answers, broken down by categories, broken down by user types, whether it's a parent or an admissions officer or a counselor, and most importantly, a student. And just having that level of organization without having to do the work was fantastic. And from a product experience as well, thinking about what type of information will be most valuable, how we can provide context, not only on the personalized student information, but then also how that's relevant to the sea of opportunity to actually provide salient recommendations and actionable insights that resonate with the person who's using the platform. So the business process AI is going to constantly evolve, and the product AI will always be improving. Like, it'll never be done.
Yes, this is beautiful. And you're the first one that I'm familiar with Rovo, and you're the first one in my show that mentioned that, and it's a very powerful tool, very powerful. Like,
It's been very helpful, and yeah, it surprised us at how good it was without having to
because
feed them. Go ahead.
even if it's your own documentation, then you put the stuff there together. You cannot assess, process, and remember all the stuff that a year ago or even 6 months ago But then if you want to make the right decision and you consult with Rovo knows everything. And he would give, right? And then the answer is based on all the consideration that you can think of, which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's we were pleasantly surprised with how effective it was, and we've only recently started using that in the past like month or so. Because we didn't use it once it was first launched, but we'll give it some time to kind of let other people be the guinea pigs before we start prompting it.
No, this is great. As the man in charge, I'm curious, what your strategy? So I'm sure that your mind was very busy up until very recently, most likely on the development. We need to have the product done. We need to get my vision into reality. And you definitely showed in your background that we haven't even mentioned here, but I know from our previous discussion that you have the capability of doing so. But now the world needs to know about it, right? The students, the counselors, the parents, the schools. What's your strategy of marketing and get, the audience or the market to know, hey, we exist and we have something special that can impact. Listen, this can impact someone's life and change the trajectory of their life tremendously, right? I mean, you can either go this way or that way, and then years from now, you're going to be grateful to making the right decision. So, how do you market this, and how do you find your potential clients to, hey, I'm here, use me?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 billion question. So looking at our industry and specifically the niche that we're in, which is college admissions, it's a noisy, crowded area of solutions. And if you were to zoom out and think about like every step that goes into the college admissions process, there are very likely thousands and thousands of companies addressing a single step in what is otherwise a multi-step journey. And a lot of them look the same. A lot of them feel kind of clinical. The experience isn't wonderful. Some are good. Others, need some work. And students have to find those things and they have to determine which one's best for them. And it's just very crowded, very noisy, and it's hard to deduce what would actually work for you. And we, in fact, have developed the entire journey in platform. Every single step that a student needs to take in order to gain admissions into a university can be done on open. But because it's so crowded and because we have such a differentiator at the very beginning, what we've done is we kind of bifurcated the platform right now from a strategy perspective. And all the tools out there that are helping students are helping them with the application, right? So they all will rewrite your essay or they'll give you a profile score on, how likely you are to be admitted. You can Google search college quiz calculator and you'll get a million hits. So it's very crowded. It's very noisy. It's hard to differentiate yourself in that noisy area. And our strategy is basically releasing this decision engine once every other solution provider drops students off once the college deadline hits. Once the college admissions deadline is there are almost zero solutions to actually help students and families decide when those admissions offers start coming in. Most students I've spoken to over the past several years are applying to 15 to 40 colleges. I spoke to a girl who applied to 75 colleges. I can go into the problems about that for days. Not on the student part, but just the bottlenecks that creates from an administration process for all other stakeholders.
Wow, that's another aspect I didn't even think of. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have a whole separate discussion on that because it's fascinating and terrifying at the same time. But we looked very hard and we have such a compelling solution just for this decision period that we strategically decided not to release the product in order to help students decide which schools to apply to, but rather wait until every other platform, their solution ended for the student in crafting an application, and the space becomes very, very quiet between January 1st until applications start up again, or call it September when students come back to school. So strategically, we've positioned ourselves as the tool to help you decide on the right college. And no other provider or competitor that we have offers those types of solutions. And it becomes almost a noise-free space for us to be able to market, advertise, and bring awareness to the solution to not only families, but also the student themselves. One of our interns, she applied to 36 schools. And I love this quote. Her quote from her parents was, "You can apply anywhere you want, but you're not allowed to make a wrong decision on where you go to school." And she's a freshman at Temple right now, and she knows at least 12 to 15 people who plan on transferring because they applied to the school that they thought looked cool because they saw an interesting TikTok, and then they got on campus and realized that they absolutely hate it. It wasn't anything that they expected. They didn't do enough research. They misaligned with some of the things that are important to them. And I think we'll see transfer rates actually growing over the next couple of years because students are making decisions based on trends or cool things they see on social media without actually getting to the root of like what is really important. So from our strategy perspective, it's obviously omni-channel approach. Social media where students live, professional networks where parents might be, uh, big spaces where there's megaphones, from engineering, engineering websites to product websites to college admissions conferences. So the strategy is multi-pronged. We're going to do our best not to throw lighter fluid on it, aka paid advertisements, because we've built so many different mechanisms within the platform that'll provide students extra benefits if they share it with their friends. So we'll give a student all of the analysis they want for the schools on their list. And if they forgot one, or if they're a junior or sophomore and they want to add schools to their list because they're curious or they're interested and they want to understand what their Thrive score is based on what we know about them compared to other schools, like all they need to do is just share it with their friends and they can unlock unlimited number of Thrive scores for any institution, college, university that they might be interested in. So advertising, hopefully strumming on a couple of strings here on not making the wrong decision. And what we like to say is, getting into college is really hard. Choosing where you should go to school shouldn't be.
Wow, I like that. We might use that as our promo for, you know what? Yeah, let's, yeah, I like that idea because this is the essence of what you guys are doing. It is exactly that. It's already stressful from different type of aspects for the parents, for the students, and it shouldn't be, or at least whatever can be done to reduce it. It's a bless. So
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that we've thought about a lot here, and this is kind of like a foundational component of our strategy, is there are a lot of solution providers out there, and through a lot of competitive analysis, it just seemed very obvious to us that these companies were really focused on the paying customer, which is like universities or high schools. And maybe they'll charge some nominal fee on a monthly basis to students just to have access to certain tools. But that's all that it is tools. They don't provide outcomes or results. It's just a tool to aid you in the process, but it doesn't promise any sort of like improved outcome. And through that analysis, it seemed plain to us that everyone was focused on how to make the paying customer's life easier without worrying about the value creators of this product they are putting out in the world, which is the students. If you think about all of this as an ecosystem, the value creators of this entire process and journey are the students themselves, because it's information, it's access, it's visibility. And where companies were mainly focusing was on value extraction, which is how do we get the most out of paying customers without thinking about where the value is being created, which is on the student. And it almost seemed like that piece of their product offering was an afterthought. It was like, oh, all right, cool. We built all these great tools to help our paying customers. Now we have to build something to actually support the student. So that way we can charge universities for the limited data that we're collecting on them and they can leverage. That was mind blowing to us. So we kind of just focused on the student first. We started all of this with the student in mind. How do we make their lives easier? How do we put them in a position where they will never have to actually fill out an application or pay an application fee and still get full admission offers because of their experience on Open, and the information that they provide is so valuable and deduced in such a way where a university can analyze this information and create actions based off of that information, that they don't need to wait for the application from the student, because they have the information so much further in advance that they can now become proactive in the admissions process rather than reactive, waiting for applications in order to make a decision. So really a big flip.
You
And
know, um, I'm hearing maybe three kinds of startups that you can okay, you can establish more based on just that. And that's why I told you, even in our first call, that I think this is just your beginning, because you start that's the way I see it. You start with solving one issue, which is the perspective. That's how you got to it, because you went through this experience, the perspective of the students. But then the more you learn about the system, and the more you understand the whole ecosystem of what's involved in the admission, then there are, and just like I told about you in the beginning, you don't miss opportunities. And there is a lot of other opportunities that can be improved with this process, right? Just like you mentioned right now, that they don't need to wait for them, or that you can reduce the overhead that students apply to for things that probably don't match what they really need. And then so there's a lot of interest here that this solution can work, which I'm really excited. Um, we got to the top of our episode. This was super exciting. I have a feeling that you and I are probably going to continue to keep in touch, regardless. Um, a last thing before we end, for students, everyone who hear us, if they want to sign up to try your system, start using it, where would they go?
they can go to www.openadmissions.io.
Okay, openadmissions.io, which I'm
Honestly,
gonna
we
try it.
Google search open admissions. Somehow we became the top result. And we didn't even pay for that.
We're gonna take that, right? No
Oh yeah,
complaints here.
absolutely.
No complaints. So I promise that I'm gonna be one of your early adopters. In fact, I'm gonna talk with my son right after this call. Again, openadmissions.io. That's the name. When do you think the official release is gonna be? Do you have a specific date already?
We do. And we've already got a big wait list of students that want to use it. And we're going to be rolling it out in phases. So just have him put his email in, and I'll make sure that he'll be in the first batch.
Thank you. Thank you. See, that's why I like my job. I get those perks.
Yeah.
um, all right. I want to thank you again. And this was super fun and important. And I really wish that we're going to see this is going to be just the first milestone of changing this whole process that hasn't been changed for years and years and years and years. thank you for that. Thank you for the vision. Thank you for putting the effort in that and helping our edtech space, get up to speed with all the changes that coming in the world and being more modern and adapt to it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
man.
and hope I'll see you again. Maybe a year from now.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you giving me the time to kind of talk about it.
Good luck.
If AI feels overwhelming, you're not behind. You're just busy running a business. New tools pop up every week, and then no one has time to figure out what actually works. At LionEdge AI, we take AI off your plate so you can focus on running your business. We review your setup, choose the right tools, and run AI systems across sales, customer support, and operations. No noise, no learning curve. LionEdge AI, your unfair advantage in the AI era.